What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are finally re-gearing my 2017 Toyota Tacoma. This is a huge mod that I know a lot of you guys are excited for, and I'm excited to do this project. We are going to show you guys how to do this in your driveway, in your garage, and it's not going to be an exact step-by-step method, but we are going to get it done. We have a trick up our sleeves as to how we're going to do that. But I got these gears from Nitro Gear and Axle. I'll have a link to their website down in the description. I decided to go with the 5.29 gear ratio. You can get two different gearing ratios for the Tacoma. There's the 488s and the 5.29s. I'll be making a separate video as to why I went with the larger gearing ratio. But here we go. We have all the gears laid out on our bench here. We got some stickers. Also this awesome license plate bracket or cover that I'm gonna put on. We got a t-shirt. The back of it is actually pretty cool. We got Let's Go More Places, which is a perfect logo or a perfect saying for the Toyota, Let's Go Places. We got all of our oil and a lot of components that I'm not exactly sure where they all go. But we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get started. We have a lot of work to do. But the first step, we're gonna get the truck up off the ground, get all the tires off. We pretty much got all of the easy work out of the way, getting the truck up in the air, and I dropped both of these skid plates. Now we're going to work on draining the front diff, and to do that, we have our drain plug is at the bottom. Fill plug is up top. Yep. I overlooked this one. So I have a 10 millimeter. Yeah.
It should come off pretty nicely.
Can you keep going?
Hey,
we got it. Look at that.
Yeah, that's really on there.
Yeah, well these are torqued. We
Yeah.
have to torque this one to like 48 and 29. Once we're done, here we go.
Very gray looking. We'll have to inspect that a little bit.
Actually, what I forgot to mention too is you usually want to change your differential oil every 30,000 miles or so. I'm at 31,000.
Yeah.
So I've waited till that interval. I have to do this anyway.
Yeah.
Might as well do a little bit extra work and change out the gears as well. With the front done, it actually didn't take that long to drain. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the rear before we drop everything, so that way we have all the oil done and out of the way. This is a 15/16 size. It seems to fit really nice, really snug. So I should have enough leverage, hopefully. Okay, we got it. Huh?
Bolts are pretty tight.
Yeah. Here's the rear oil.
Oh yeah, looking good.
Yeah, looks about the same as up front. So we've moved on to the rear now. We're going to start here first. I'm using a 14 millimeter socket, and we are going to remove these 4 bolts that hold the drive shaft to the rear diff here. I'm going to use a 14 for all of these around the outside, and then a 12 for these 2 bolts up here. These are holding this kind of bracket that I've already loosened a little bit. It looks like we have a connection that we have to disconnect. With the rear drive shaft off, we are jumping to the front drive shaft, and I've got my extension here with a wrench on the back side. It's up underneath the transmission there, just to give me a little bit extra leverage, and it makes it very easy to do. Alright guys, so if you remember in the beginning of this video, I said we had a trick up our sleeve. That is bringing our friend Shay in. He is going to help us with actually doing the re-gearing, so huge thanks to you for coming out. I'll have his Instagram down in the description. Definitely give him a thanks for coming out and doing this in our driveway here.
He is a master mechanic, literally knows everything.
Yeah. And he has a 700 horsepower motorcycle, drag motorcycle, so he's got some fun toys of his own, and he's got all of these tools that he's generously letting us use, which is a lot easier than hand tools. We've been doing that all morning by hand. So, we already went ahead and did the other side, so we have a pretty good grasp on this now. Basically what we need to do is we need to remove the CV axles in order to drop the diff. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the bolts up underneath the lower control arm, which is right under here. Next up, we're going to go ahead and remove the caliper. So there's 2 bolts on the back side. They use a 17 millimeter socket. One other bolt you have to remove is right here for the brake line for the caliper, so we can easily bungee that up over here.
Actually, I just hook it to itself.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the ABS wiring connector. So we got this fancy little tool that's going to act like fingernail. Get kind of in there and loosen that plug just like that. And then we have a small clip, and then that wire is now free because we're going to be dropping the rotor and everything forwards to pull out that cable, or sorry, to pull out the CV axle, along with removing the tie rod end and the sway bar end link as well.
And you want to leave that still on it for a little bit and smack that with a hammer. That way this disconnects without it just going crazy.
All right, so our next step is to basically disconnect this here, and then you're gonna help us separate the CV axle?
Yeah.
Brian and I tried it, but we don't have the right tool.
All the other videos, by the way, on YouTube, they literally show it one smack of a hammer and the axle pops out of the diff. That's not exactly accurate.
Yeah.
So it definitely takes a little bit of manpower. We got all sorts of different tools. So we got a big pry bar and really just separating the CV axle out of the diff. You can see it up there just a little bit. I'll get a better look in a second. There you go.
I just need help lifting it up. Brian.
Yep.
It's heavy.
Oh yeah.
Alright guys, so up underneath we have a few things to do before we can drop the diff. We have the front of the diff brackets here, which are a 19. We also have a couple connectors, which you can just pop this bracket out that holds it, just like that. And then there's also a bolt up top that holds this entire harness. Can you see that there? So I already took that bolt out, it's just sitting up there. It's kind of hard to get to since you can't see it, but you just got to feel for it. What are we stuck on now?
Nothing. It's literally just gotta slide itself out.
Go, Bri.
Alright, watch your...
Yep. You good? You good? Alright guys, so as you can see we have the front diff on our workbench right now. It was a little bit of work. We had a few more connectors that we didn't know about. There was one up top here. And so now it's time for the teardown. It should be these ring of bolts here. It's going. It's going. It's going.
What if I
Yeah, try to get one down here.
There we go.
Oh, okay, there's what's holding it.
There's a pin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost loose. Oh, there's the fluid.
There's fluid. Alright. Well,
There we go.
so this is the inside of a front differential on a Tacoma. And now, with Shay's expertise, we're gonna put the new gearing in. I sound so confident, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
Everything that we've ever done on the truck has been done by Brian or myself, minus mount and balance and re-gearing.
So now we just got these 4 bolts around it, and that'll disconnect that area.
I'm not sure how much of a step-by-step video this will be, but at least you can get an idea of
What goes into
it. Yeah, this is a big job. Yep.
There you go.
There we go.
So that's what was holding it.
Yeah.
There's your snap ring.
Okay. Is that something we're going to be reusing?
Yes.
Okay.
So now this should come
now-
off the gears, right?
Yeah. There we go. There's our gears.
Yeah, that's good. Give the other side now.
Yeah. I got my hands stuck in between.
There's your old one.
So there's the old one.
So let's compare it real
You want
quick.
to try to count the teeth? I don't know. We're going from 340 something to 529.
Yeah.
I think the stock, because the manual is a 418.
Yeah.
I think the automatic is a little bit wimpier.
Yes, we use rubber. Alright.
Well, there you go. Now, do we have to put anything on these bolts? We're good?
Just gonna tighten them down to torque specs.
Alright. There it goes. Alright, should I just grab it?
Yep. Pull it on out.
Oh, we lost the sleeve.
That's all good.
Alright. So this is the pinion, and we got the new one over here. Here's the new one.
Wow.
It looks a lot different.
Yeah, it's definitely smaller.
Yeah. But this has to touch all the way down to here, right?
So that's where the press comes into play.
Okay.
Is to press
Yeah.
that all the way down onto that.
Alright guys, so it is a brand new day, and we've learned a lot about doing this project at home. really when it comes down to it, the only thing that you have to bring anything to a shop for is to have the pinion gears for the front and rear pressed. We're going to be picking those up here shortly. So if you want to do this project, it's an expensive mod and you want to save some money on labor. If you can get to this point, bring in those two pinions, have them pressed, and come back. That's kind of where we're at right now. We do have to remove the rear gears, however, and so we already did the driver's side. We're going to use a trick. We're using this bolt here, and there's 2 threaded holes on the drum brake. So I'm just going to go back and forth, tightening them evenly, and what that's going to do is actually pop this right off. So you don't have to bang it with a hammer. So you can already see it moving away and coming off. So I'm going to do a couple more rotations and now back it out and use the other hole there. Once we have it loose, take the e-brake back off, and then you can slide this right off. And here's the inside of a drum. Now the next step we have to do is come around the back. There are 4 bolts here that we're going to loosen. There's this clip on this side that we have to take off. And then for this line right here, instead of trying to take all of this apart and take the 2 bolts off that connect this from the inside, I'm going to remove this bolt right here, which I believe is a 12. So we're going to remove that, and this gives us a lot of slack to slide this out. Last up, we do have to disconnect the brake line here. So it's going to drip just a little bit. And my method to kind of catch that is just to put a Ziploc bag over the end. But we do have to basically bleed the brakes. So when we hook them back up, we just have a little bit extra work to do. It's nothing crazy. So we already went ahead and popped the cap for the reservoir underneath the hood. Now, I don't know how far the axle has to come out. We'll just go a little bit on each side. Now comes the time to drop the diff. We have 2 connectors here that I already went and took off. Then there's a million bolts that hold it in place. So we're going to use the jack here as a second hand for me. Oh, you know what? I wonder if the axles have to be pulled farther apart. Yeah. I want to try to turn it towards me so it doesn't leak.
Don't let it slide off the jack.
I got it.
Are you sure you got the weight? It is on the jack.
I got it.
Alright, we're almost on the ground.
Alright, we're on the ground.
Right there, I got it.
Woo! There's our rear gear.
It weighs like 1,000,000 pounds.
This is going to be fun to put back up.
So this is a electronic limited slip.
So,
Sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we got our pinion, which you can see all the way in the back there. And then
gear.
this is our main gear that we'll be replacing. So it's been some time now, and we have the front and rear diffs completed. We didn't get to show how to film doing the rear, but you kind of got a good idea from the front. Basically, there's 4 bolts here, which allow you to then pull this whole center out. And you can see on our new gearing, we ran that paint that never dries, so you can make sure you have a good pattern in your gears.
So Shay did all this. Huge shout out. Seriously, Shay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Did an amazing job.
We got everything torqued down to spec.
And then real quick, we'll just show you the front. The front is all back together now. You saw how it is taken apart. So you just put it back together like that is. The RTV silicone or the gasket maker is in here, so that's all good. Everything's torqued. So
we got to run that gasket seal for the rear.
Yep. So we're gonna clean up the rear, do the gasket, and just put it back. And basically, from what you guys have seen, it's now the opposite, putting it back together. It's a big job, but yeah, we're gonna hit the time lapse and get to it. Alright guys, so after some of the time lapse, as you guys saw, we did the rear diff and the front diff up and in there. That actually only took not that long. It was like 2 minutes to get the rear one in. Front one was a little bit of pain. These things are pretty heavy and very bulky. Front one like 10 minutes, so not that bad. But we have the whole rear completely done and assembled. The brakes are all back together, the 4 bolts behind it, the brake lines, all the bolts are tight in the center. All we gotta do now is bleed the rear brakes and put the rear tires on. And now we are just doing the final bolts for the front differential. He's just tightening those ones right now. And then we got the one in the back. The best way to get the front diff in is pivot it around that rear bolt in the back. This one right here, you kind of put this straight up in the air, hook it in there, and then you can push the front up and nice. And then what I had to do from this side, you can't really tell, but on the top of the differential up here, there's a bracket you're gonna have to reach. Basically stick your hand way up in here, and there's a bolt right up there that you're gonna tighten. And then right through here, you'll see 2 vacuum lines that need to connect to the differential. and you kind of basically bear hug the diff from the underside to get those vacuum lines in. Kind of a pain in the butt, but very doable as well. Alright guys, so as you can see it dripping a little bit, that's when you know the differential is full. We'll take a closer look, but yeah, that's basically how you do it.
After working late into the night, we are done re-gearing my Tacoma. We've topped off all the fluids last night as well, which will need to be changed after about 500 miles, which is roughly the break-in period for these gears. I also went out and did the 20-minute drive for your first drive for it. You need to drive it about 20 minutes and let it sit and cool, and then you're able to drive it again after that. So look forward to seeing my first reactions video along with going off-road and even towing with the gears. We'll see how they do compared to stock versus with the 5.29s. So once again, make sure you guys check out Nitro Gear and Axle if you want to re-gear your Tacoma. I highly recommend doing this mod. And also a huge shout out to our buddy Shay for coming out and helping us do this in the driveway. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up, smash that subscribe button. We'll see you guys in the next video.